uh, by going through the software, soft power and software and cultural diplomacy. In fact, Bollywood diplomacy, movie diplomacy, if you find how it has helped India capture the mood in so many other countries. Our movies, like Russia, or maybe I have been to even Afghanistan. Afghanistan, some people are so fascinated about India, and they love India so much because of our movies and our TV serials they've been watching. I myself seen, so they are so engrossed. I'm talking about before the Taliban era. Now Taliban has all shut down that thing. And not only Afghanistan, I'll say even Pakistan. Pakistan has a lot of so much of influence of Indian soft power, like these movies. They are so hit. Our songs play in their marriages, in their functions, and it captures their imagination. You talk to those women and all; they will be all impressed by how Indian women dress and how Indian women talk. Then you ask them, "How do you know that?" They'll say, "हमने फिल्मों में देखा है, या सीरियल्स में देखा है, साड़ी अच्छी लगती है." So that is how impact the soft power can, how much impact soft power can have, even in countries which are we consider like which are considered enemy countries like Pakistan, which sees India as an enemy. But despite that, they have this uh, huge influence of the soft power. So my feeling is that we need to go all out. Uh, I mean, if we take the example of China, how China spends so much of money on this cultural and other activities, how China encourages, even in India, how much money they spend in no, teaching people in Mandarin in India, or how much money they spend at home to teach people Hindi. So many people know Hindi, because that is why they want to have an impact. And since China considers Southeast Asia as its backyard, they won't like any competition there of like India competing and having engagement which is maybe not to their uh, up to their which is not to their liking. So I mean, we that is why I'm stressing on the fact that soft power, like soft power means I include soft power. I mean this software power. Like we are a giant in software, and we must go all out. And like countries like Taiwan and all that, we have there are so many linkages, or maybe Thailand, Vietnam, all these countries. We should go all out and spread our tentacles there, so that we can have an influence, and and that will also help us increasing trade and engagement, other things otherwise, and balancing also the influence that China has on these countries. And I will not go too much beyond. I want to finish it fast. So I think if we use our soft power with more force and more aggression, although we are also using this military and other things, but I don't think that is working. That will work because of China's aggressiveness in South Asia, South China Sea and the region. So soft power will be the best way to bypass China and have an impact, have a better engagement, high level engagement. I mean, enhanced engagement with all these ASEAN countries, which will also reflect in increasing bilateral trade also for benefit of both sides. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It's a privilege that we have Dr. Young Sahini ma'am. Young Sahani ma'am with us today via Zoom. She's a senior lecturer and director of international affairs at CM University, Thailand. She has over 18 years in academia, specializing in management, leadership, and sustainable development. She's attended over 300 conferences across 50 countries. Her key role is in fostering international collaborations and promoting the SDGs. She's a recipient of multiple accolades for her work in education and innovation. She advocates for sustainable and inclusive education worldwide. Stage is yours, ma'am.
Thank you very much. A very good afternoon. Namaskar. Swadika from Thailand. I'm Ying Sani. And thank you very much to Professor Lalit Agarwal. Am I audible? Is the screen audible? Is it, can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you are audible.
Perfect. So, warm wishes from Thailand and role of soft power enhancing cooperation. And I look like I'm from India, but basically the roots are from India. My dad was born in India, and I belong to India ethically, and we are from the Sikh family. So. It's a great privilege, and we are very thankful to MERI College and to the students and to every delegates and Professor Lalit for the invitation. So, there was a clip and the Twitter as well as a news that our Prime Minister, His Excellency, Prime Minister of Thailand, His Excellency Ms. Pantongthan Shinawat, has also met Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the East Asia Summit. So you can see from here that we also having a very good collaboration, and every tourist, when they have to travel to Thailand, we don't have any visas. So there is no visas issues anymore, or no need for any visa. So everything has been, it's going to be boosting up the tourism. It's going to be enhancing more cooperation and more of the trade fairs as well. So you can see from the tweet of our Prime Minister Narendra Modi that he had really good chance to have a collaboration talk with our Prime Minister at Laos, at the near our country, neighboring country, and it was a deeply valued friendship of India and Thailand. So because the roots of Thailand, you can say earlier, or even us, we are also worshipping Lord Buddha. So Lord Buddha comes from India. I think everybody is familiar with that. As well as only not that, but we also use the Thai language, which is coming from Sanskrit. So this is all relative to say that we all share the same previous culture heritage and same historical religion beliefs. That's very important. And you can see from here celebrating Diwali, and that's our Prime Minister, and at Little India. So this is a little amazing Diwali festival, which she was celebrated on the October 9th. With the ambassador, very wonderful pictures. If you can have a glimpse of here at the Little India, it was a great occasion. As well as a Diwali glimpse, you can say it was also to celebrate 77-year relationship with India very strongly. As well, we in Siam University, we also celebrated Diwali on the right day, which was on the 31st of October, with our students from India, from Nepal, as well as the Tihar festival celebration. It was with the dance and music and crackers and firecrackers with sweets as well, and with the lovely clothes that you can see that we were really looking lavishly, very extraordinary. And this is a little picture of us when we visited MERI College. It's a soft power of saying that very good collaboration. Thank you to the hospitality. Thank you to the great welcoming for our MERI College, to Professor Lalit and to the faculty members. So we are the private university, and we believe in sustainability a lot. So sustainability is working with the community, like for land erosion and climate crisis, very importantly. This is our third pillar. So one pillar is employability, that we really trust that all students have to do cooperative education, internship. Second is diversity, as we have more than 1,000 international students from more than 53 countries. And sustainability is the third one, where we also want to have green environment, green community, green campus. So this is turning the dangerous spot into the city and to the healthy space. Coming back, I forgot to tell about this. This is like to cover up the land and to also have climate crisis to cover up, or to solve this problem. They're trying to plant the mangrove trees. Mangrove trees are also coming up into the solution of SDG number 13, which is the climate change crisis. So this was a drug addicted or a very dangerous area, and they turn it to the healthy space area. Also, we had a big flood during 2014. So this was like cleaning the university. We allowed the community to use our toilets, to use the sanitary space in here, because very importantly, during the flood area, many of them were affected and many of them did not have the space to use that. So this is another one for the university students to design a flyover area into the pocket garden and artistic zone. So I think you can also have a very similar kind of a setting in Delhi. If you have like a flyover, you can also have students to go and design those areas, or maybe try turn out into the bad areas to the good healthy space area, because health is very important, health as well. Also, we also have time bank, where aging population is being the very severe case in Thailand, because many of the youngsters, they don't have kids, or maybe they don't have their future generation coming up. So what do we do with the aging population is we try to tell our students awareness that instead of just staying in the classroom, they can go there and have some activity with the quality time with the aging population, and read them stories or take them out, or maybe sometimes play music for them. So this is like they will get some credits for spending quality time with the aging population. And this is a Bangkok Metropolitan Authority and our governor. He also tried to develop the soft power by creating the creative zone for the culture and tourism in the Poon Bampen Pasicharan. This is a community area where we don't want the students, or maybe we don't want the tourists or our faculties or the exchange faculty to visit the shopping mall, but we want them to visit community areas to boost the currency or to boost the economy of the community. Very importantly, this is something related with the UNESCO enrolled program specialist, and this is the higher education leader from Singapore also visiting us, and it was trying to exchange. So we're trying to have some faculty or maybe the students to visit Singapore very soon for an exchange program. And this is the Nobel laureate. It was a very proud moment for Siam University, where we had two Nobel laureates at our university in 2014 on the same year. And that was one talk was about consistent economic policy and economic development by Professor Finn. He is a Nobel laureate for economics. And another one is the Road to Freedom, Economic and the Good Society by Professor Joseph from Professor Columbia University, Nobel Prize in Economics in 2001, and former chief economist of the World Bank. And this is a small charity workshop that we have. So we want the students to have charity as much as they can, and to have some awareness that they are very privileged. They are from the well developed family, and their family is really having a strong background. Why don't they share whatever they can, a quality time or quality goods that they have with the charity people, with the people who are underprivileged. So this is International Day of Yoga, STD number 3. We also celebrate International Day of Yoga at our university during the month of June, if I'm not mistaken. And also we have Sustainability Expo. So we want the awareness of sustainability, very important. I think by 2030, the agenda is there, but it will still take time to achieve that. So this is a community visit by the students from Nepal as well. And there are community workshop by students from America. They were here. They were also trying to figure it out about the pH level of the water, how much the pH level is there, how much alkaline and acidic. And it was very important for them to visit the community area as in Bangkok. So this is something related with the flood hazard assessment. Thailand, as you can see, we have Chao Phraya River. So we also want to know that what will happen during the climate crisis then, or during the rainy season, the water level is really high. How can really we can overcome this? So we had also trying to talk about this. So it's very important to have a faculty exchange, or like these conferences. You can gain more knowledge. I know that classrooms are there, but I think from the conferences, networking can be possible. You can gain more knowledge. You can also gain some experience from them. So this also is the Korean Education Fair at our university. I think in the future we can also have Indian Education Fair or Study Fair, or maybe we can also go there in India. We also have been there. This is for the sports day at our university, and also we celebrate from 2010 till this year. It has been around 15 years, the SDG International Day of Peace, every 21st of September. This is the UN International Day of Peace. So we got the video message from your UN Secretary General, His Excellency Professor Antonio from the Portugal, as well as we have been celebrated with the students, the SDG. So we get students like from India, Nigeria, Nepal. They share their knowledge about the International Day of Peace. This year it was about cultivate the theme of peace. So this is like not promoting much of advertisement, but we were very lucky to get the Best Innovative Award by Mahesi, which stands for Ministry of Higher Education, Science, Research and Innovation. And that's our president, the gentleman over there, and that's the Minister of Education. And that's the Sun Thailand. We also celebrate at our university, Sustainable University Network. Around 30 universities are under the Sustainability University Network, and they were celebrated at our university with the conference. So we have your United Nations Congo members also attending another conference, and it's about the non-governmental and organization under the consultative states of the UN Congo. The Congo is the conference name, and we also have received the Best Winner Award this year under the International Green Gown for benefiting the society. As I told you, we work with the community. Every Friday, we allow the community to come and open up the market at our university, and we also want them to sell products whatever they want. We don't have any interest of any rental space, so they are free to do whatever they want to, but they have to sell their products, and they can get benefit from them to our students, faculty members, or to the neighboring community. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening, and the floor is open for the questions and answers. And I'm thinking that the time I've been right on time, or if I've taken much of your time, sorry for that. And I'm really looking forward for the questions. I wish I could be there in Delhi, and I would be personally there and share my experience and meet the students and other faculty members and meet Professor Lalit as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Such a valuable perspective. Now, we are privileged to have Mr. Alok Vijayan, sir, with us. He's a managing director of Skyrod Technologies. He's a former senior director in the NSA office, PMO Government of India. He has extensive expertise in cybersecurity, security operations, and advanced technology. He has an experience of renowned for contributing to national security initiative and specialize in integrating technology with soft power strategies. Please welcome Mr. Alok, sir, to take over the session and steer the session ahead.
I have to leave. I am sorry for this, but I have an important meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Honorable Professor Dr. Ramakant Dwivedi, sir, Head of Center for International Studies at MERI Group of Institution, to present a gesture of gratitude to Ajay Kumar Kaul, sir. Okay. I request Professor Dr. Ramakant Dwivedi, sir, to present a gesture of gratitude to Ajay Kumar Kaul, sir. Please welcome Mr. Alok, sir, to take over and steer the session ahead.
Okay, so immediately after the lunch session, it's very difficult to actually sit there and speak to people. So I would rather move around. I have taken permission from my co-panelists to move around here. Before, I think you can run the presentation so that. So my introduction has already been given. I am Alok Vijayan. I work for 26 years with the Government of India in various capacities, and primarily my role was to create a team of cyber warriors for the country. I entered into the national security game way back in 2006, and till 2022, I was there with them. Prior to my joining the national security establishment, I was with Reserve Bank of India as a direct recruited management cadre officer. I served Reserve Bank for 9 years, and unfortunately, I am also a Chinese linguist. So if you see my profile, actually, I'm quite a confused man. I studied in a Fauji school. I never joined Fauj. I studied physics in university, Delhi University. I did nothing about physics ever. I studied management at FMS Delhi University. I did nothing about management. And I entered into the field of computers, cyber, and hardcore offensive cyber. That means I don't talk about security at all. I only talk about breaking the systems, understanding the systems, and recreating new systems. So that is my name to fame. I have played around with hacking community right at the grassroots level, and probably that was my biggest achievement that I can think of in the last 26 years. So before they switch on my presentation, I don't know what's happening. Since the subject was a little new for me, it was like a relationship with a foreign nation or our neighbors. So I can use technology for doing that. And I mean, everyone uses Chat GPT and others, but in the process, I actually created my own system which can give me my answer. So I have a site where I create retrieval augmented generative AI, and I started asking it questions. That what are the questions? What should I cover? The first question, what should I cover in my presentation? So it said that, okay, bring out the historical relationship, historical connects. तो मेरे को अचानक याद आया बचपन में हम पढ़ते थे काबुली वाले. You remember? Anyone can remember that काबुली वाला कहानी? Okay, so काबुली वाला आता है and he brings in all those dry sweets and all that. So it connect started from there. Then we read about we talk about payment systems, we talk about digital currencies, we talk about a lot of currencies, barters and things. So where did it originate? It actually started, when I started reading history, then I realized that it was Kushan dynasties and all that. So that was the historical connect. Then came the religious context. When it came to, you're not able to switch on my presentation? Then I'll have to keep making stories. Okay. So after having seen all these historical connects, then I realized that what now? In the current context, what do we have to share with our neighborhood when we talk about South Asia, Southeast Asia, and the neighbors around us? And of course, when we talk about neighbors, though China also falls in our neighborhood itself, but then we will keep them a little out of the context here, though they belong to the South Asian community, but then we'll keep them out. We will address rest of the people. That the countries, the 16 countries that have been listed here, we'll only talk about that. So what is the percentage of share, the global trade, that these 16 countries actually enjoy? Anyone can take a wild guess? Any wild guesses? What is the global trade percentage of these 16 countries in the world? Again, the Chat GPT, my own version of cyber think tank gave me this answer. It comes to around 12% of the total global trade. And what is the kind of population that you have in these 16 countries? It's almost 28 to 29% of the global population that is there on this part of it. What is the area that we cover? The land area? Again, it is around 12%. Now, why I'm giving you the statistics is that I want to tell you that the share of involvement of these 16 countries, when you compare it with the global dynamics, it's hardly anything. So where do you stand and what we need to do? The problem is about plenty. We are, considered as one of the poor side of the world. So what can we do? Because for developing, you need money. It's like money pulls money, and you need money. And we all are not in a position to actually spend too much of money. We also have issues of implementation of certain things. Should I come and correct it? I had logged in. I don't know what's. Yeah, sorry. No, I am here. And okay. So the question is, what do we have actually? What is our strength? The strength is our people. We have got huge sets of people with good amount of skill sets. And this is what we need to channelize. I was just talking to the ambassador just during the lunch. The question of implementation. You asked a question of implementation, who will implement? The problem is that all these countries that we talked about, all the 16 countries we talked about, we have very limited resources when it comes to handling the soft power. Though India has developed like a giant when it comes to the softer part of the world, that software technologies or human skill sets, we are quite in numbers now. What about the others? And why we have not been able to make a mark when it comes to soft power is because we have spread too thin. We are spread so thin that we want to do everything ourselves. When it comes to electronics, we want to fabricate electronics here. When it comes to development of software, we want to develop software here itself. When it comes to cybersecurity, we want to do it here. When we want to actually set up data center, we want to do it here. And each of these countries, each of these 16 countries have spread like this. They have spread very thin. Yeah, okay. So my presentation is now here. So I have already talked about this historical connect. The oldest historical connect comes from the trade routes, that Silk Road, what we talk about. Linguistics. This part of the world has very interesting linguistic chains. All the languages in this part of the world has actually emerged from Sanskrit. Many of these have still used the words which are deployed in Sanskrit. That's being used. Cultural, of course, this is something which my earlier speaker also covered that we need to have a very different kind of a cultural connect, and we do have a cultural connect between all these nations. Political, most of the political systems have actually emerged from this part of the world. Whether you call it democracy, whether you call it, any form of government, the payment system, the money, the barter system, everything has come from this part of the world. This part of the world also has got great things to celebrate. We have produced the best of the mathematicians in the world. Though we have produced best of the mathematicians in the world, we hardly have a say in cryptology. We do not stand anywhere when it comes to cryptography or cryptanalysis or such kind of things. Why is it that? We will have to actually do a little introspection on this, that why our mathematicians who have a claim to be the best in the world have never come out with an algorithm or a crypto technique which has actually caught the eyes of the world. That we need to look at it. Is there some kind of a sabotage happening, or is there some kind of, because I fail to accept this fact that India doesn't have the resources. We have the resources to actually keep our people intact here, but somehow it doesn't happen. We have religious chains, again, the Buddhism and Sufism, again, is another one. Next, please. So this I have talked about. 28% of the global population on 7.97 to 9% of total global land area. That is what we have. I'm talking about all the 16 countries that are listed in the list. I'm talking about them. Global trade share is approximately 11, back please. Global trade share is 11 to 12%. Global imports that we do in this part of the land is 12 to 13%. Now, when it comes to 12 to 13%, a big chunk of demand side is met from this part of the world. Global export, 11 to 12%. High-tech production percentage. When we talk about anything which is high-tech, like high cost, which requires more of time, symmetric technological development, we are hardly there. We are 9% of the global value of trade. Soft skills, 55% of IT outsourcing is in India. 15 to 20% in Vietnam, Philippines, and Malaysia. And we are only doing, if you have ask me about the scale of operations, out of a 10 scale of operation, we are doing a quality job at the level of 3, not beyond that. So whenever you want to actually get into the real hardcore mutton, you are not there. We are not there at all. Next, please. So the problem is, where do we leverage? Or what are the leverage point that we as a group together, or we as a nations together in this part of the world can actually offer to the world is living by the asymmetry. Let's not talk about the symmetrical development of aspects in the software power, because it requires huge amount of investments that probably we are not prepared to do it as of now. But then small investment, asymmetric operations that we can do, it gets into this kind of a thing. Now, the beauty of this, why I have listed out data centers as an asymmetric advantage, is because of the temperature extremity that we have in this part of the world. There are places in Central Asia which have got very extreme temperatures, which is very hot and very cold. These are very fertile grounds, and very apt placements of data centers can actually happen in those kind of area which has got lesser temperature, or who are on the lower side of the temperature. Because data centers, the maximum consumption is not about setting up a data center, but it is about the power that it consumes to actually stand itself. So the cooler places have got better chances of setting up of a data center. So this is what we need to exploit. DevOps, of course, India is there now when it comes to development and operations kind of a thing. We are the largest outsourcing hub for the rest of the world. But again, we have spread too thin. There are certain kinds of jobs only that come to India, not all kinds of jobs, not the sensitive, not the good quality job. It's only, lowly kind of a job where more of human intensive work is required. That is the kind of thing that comes to us. Cryptography is something which I am very, very, positive about and gaga about it, because, at least I have a couple of friends from places like Russia who have been excellent and brilliant when it comes to cryptography, but somehow they have got lost in the overall perspective. So this is what we need to revive. Cryptography is going to be a big game. AI and robotics, again, this is a very asymmetric game where only the brain matters. How much of brain you can deploy, and again, it's a factor of mathematics. So this is where we need to leverage our strength on development of AI algorithm. Very sorry to say and state this fact that I have been into this game of robotics and artificial intelligence for almost like a decade now. And trust me, we do talk about as a country that we are very savvy about this artificial intelligence and machine learning. And every organization, every university, every college is actually having a course on AI and AI as of now, machine learning and all that. But again, we are not developing our own algorithm. What we are doing is we are using one of the ready-made algorithms which are there on Aracade or any other places, and downloading the entire thing and creating a project out of it. So we are using, again, we are probably committing an error where, we are going with the existing algorithm and doing things. One thing which I have not touched, I thought I'll speak to all of you. Are you following this pager attack that has happened on Iran and Israel war? How many of you are following it up? So what do you find? What is that? Probably we need to look at it in a greater depth. Is the use of technology that we are blindly doing from the West. This is where we need to have our own systems to actually protect against such kind of thing. It was an excellent example of a supply chain attack, where your supply is getting moderated or modified or corrupted to cause a kinetic effect in war. This has been something which has been tried for the first time in Israel-Iran war. And now this kind of a thing will start following in. I don't know whether I have been able to convey what I wanted to convey, but there is a reason when we have to look at all the electronics that we use today, all the mobile phones, what you hold in hand today, right now, iPhones. How many iPhone users here? How many iPhone users? iPhone is made in which country? Which country? Okay, so, okay, please, I will not suggest that you should open up your iPhone, but you open it up, everything is made in China. All the chips are made in China, all the motors made in China, everything. So we need to look at these very small components that we tend to neglect, or maybe use it just because it is cheap. Before ending my actual, I think there is nothing ahead. Please just move ahead. One more. Yeah, so these are the opportunities. This is my second last slide. Growing need for digital transformation and cloud services is going to give us an opportunity to actually do something worthwhile in this field. And how we can do it collectively is not by doing all by ourselves or all by one country or the other. We need to have a synergic approach in actually setting up this entire thing, because these are multiple components of the entire cyber domain that has to be looked after. Increased demand for data centers. Of course, I have spoken about the data centers. Global electronics and semiconductor manufacturing, positioning post Chinese lack of global trust. Now, when China is actually exiting this field of electronics, though they are not exiting, but they are made to exit out of this field of electronics, there is a huge void that is going to get created in this field of electronics. And this is where we need to leverage our strengths and even maybe investments to pour into such kind of a developmental electronics. Green and renewable energy sourcing. Again, we are quite well positioned to actually look at this greener technologies in this part of the world, because we are not vertical, we are actually horizontal in our spread. Tourism, cultural exports, of course, Central Asia, including the northern part of India and a lot of other places are beautiful places of for tourism. But unfortunately, we have been, this part of the world has been actually converted into a play zone for the West, and it has always been disturbed because of whatever reason, maybe driving the commerce through some other methods. Next, please. Okay, so I finished my presentation like this because, and though I must commit to you that this was not my subject actually. I don't talk on international relations. And thanks to Dr. Ramakant, who has now introduced me to this subject. I'm a hardcore techie and I can talk tech, but this was nothing but, there was no tech in this. So thank you. I'll be ready to take on question answers at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, Alok. There is a slight change in the order of presentation. One of our friends, Dr. Siddharth Saxena, is making a presentation from University of Cambridge, and he will be dealing with the geopolitics, the various dynamics of the geopolitics of Central Asia. So is Siddharth online already? Siddharth?
Yep. Can you hear me? I'm here.
All right, Siddharth. So before I hand over the floor to you, the brief introduction of yours, which I know, but I want to share with the audience, distinguished audience here. Siddharth is internationally renowned academicians on Central Asian society, culture, and politics. Apart from the area studies, his contribution is phenomenal on physics and economic ties. He has made extremely valuable contribution in promotion of Central Asian studies. There is a Central Asia Forum which is active at the University of Cambridge, which he has been, guiding for quite some time. So I think Siddharth, that's good enough. And now all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramakant. And of course, greetings to the distinguished audience and friends. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me clearly, Ramakant? I'm not sure if I can I be heard clearly? Can I be heard? Can you hear me?
Siddharth, go ahead. You're audible. Loud
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And I'm also grateful to the previous speaker of for setting up several things that I was going to touch upon myself. And it's nice to hear that I'm following another physicist into into the discussion today and talking about geopolitics. Fortunately, I do both of them. So, in fact, taking the leaf from the discussion that's ongoing, I wanted to touch on sort of three things. So first, I'd be critical of how generally, globally, not just in our sessions or discussion, the geopolitics is not pinned or underpinned by real information, and it becomes a discussion about power and power dynamics. And we often use words like geopolitics and geoeconomics without underpinning as to what that means. And I think the previous speaker's particular reference to history was very important because I wanted to touch on in the same thing in a slightly different way about imaginaries, how we imagine our geopolitical space and how we imagine its extension and its functionality and connectivity. And I think if I was to summarize the in a sense the slow start 33 years ago between the two regions, and the start I think we'll all agree was slow. The potential that has been already discussed in this meeting, immensely. Why weren't we having this conversation 33 years ago? Why are we having it 33 years later now? Is something that we need to question. As a teacher teaching Central Asia here in Cambridge abroad, I have to answer this question. Students ask me. India has the largest soft power, as was described earlier, and hard power, and economic power, and the people power, and the historical power, and yet it has taken time for things to warm up. And I want to put this in terms of geopolitical institutions rather than just the discussion of smaller relationships and exchanges and so on, right? So institutionally, how India was configured to work with the Soviet Union and the disruption of those institutions has taken a time to rebuild. So I would say instead of complaining about how we have been slow, I think we are, as a physicist, I would say we had to rebuild the machinery of institutions. And I think we have been doing a good job. Ramakant is one of those people and who has been building this machinery to work effectively for the future. And so imaginary of how Central Asia itself has been, and I think I can put it bluntly, that it's the center of the world, center of this political and geopolitical, but also geographical world, but it's periphery of the mind. What do I mean by that? So it's the center of the world, periphery of the mind. So it is not the first place, and many speakers have brought that up. It's not the first place one we think of. So let me just take a slightly different evidence-based approach to this discussion. So when I'm working in Central Asia, and many of you know I'm there literally every month for last 30 years, one thing I always question that if I map the economic activity, let's say, for instance. So a number of British, European, American, and for that matter, Korean, and of course, lately China as well, but Korean and Japanese economic presence in Central Asia is massive. And I'm going to refer to, and I think Ambassador Sharma is probably in the audience, and if he's not, it's okay. At his wonderful invitation, I was fortunate to participate in 2012 in the India Central Asia Dialogue as an observer. And I'm going to expand on that because this is very relevant to our discussion, like now 12 years later, where are we, from what I've learned from that specific thing. That the discussion was very symbolic and very powerful in symbolism. But in terms of content, discussion narrowed down to the geopolitical, geoeconomic, and ties. But in terms of what we could trade, what we could actually do, people to people level, business to business level, region to region level, it was something that was not present at that stage. Meaning that if there are 500 British companies and 700 American companies operating, can we count what number of Indian companies operating in Central Asian space? I'm not even talking about one country, but the overall space of Central Asia, which is massive in terms of resources, opportunities, and all variety of potential. So that metric, how we think about that metric, requires two engines. One is the institutional geopolitical machinery of the country itself, and as the previous speakers rightly said, that the creating a narrative which comes down to the household level. So what we can think about, how we can think about that, is that if you take any large Indian company, say let's say Tata, for example, or doesn't matter, or any of the current larger companies, if you look at their global map, their presence, how you create those diagrams with the company in the center and its offices, in London, Paris, Brazil, Singapore, Dubai, and even China for that matter, a massive presence. Above the border to the north is always a dark spot. There is nothing usually there, and I would go further to say that very often in our imaginary as an Indian business person or commercial actor, I would, for prestige purposes, rather have a money-losing office in London than a money-making office in Tashkent or Almaty or Dushanbe, which is quite remarkable in terms of how we think. So it's not only what Central Asians can do with us, what have we been able to do with them beyond the institutional thing. So I would actually praise successive governments of India to keeping this fire alive, despite not having the broader fuel being put into it by commercial side from the private sector and so on. And I think, but we're reaching a moment where the geopolitical ties and intentions need to translate into a more connected stories of, as I would again reinforce what was said earlier, that the technological side. And I'm going to narrow it down. I'm going to narrow it down to say that how geopolitics of technology, geopolitics of development, or algebra of development requires that we have no other way forward other than to recreate both the imaginary and the connectivity with Central Asia, and we have to stop looking at our previous geopolitical traumas. So we cannot look at Central Asia through the lens of what's happening in Afghanistan and Pakistan only. Those are important, necessarily important things, but this is not how we operate. We can't afford to operate. And the world of the critical minerals is something that is one of the many options that are there. The question of the critical minerals is also a very big geopolitical question, and it has only been put on the table now, and people are talking about it. However, we need to redefine critical for who and critical for what, and I will again borrow the example from the previous speaker and expand on it. When you talk about the iPhone or any phone, and whether its chips are made in China or elsewhere else, that's important only to an extent. That's not the real tech part of the problem. That when geopolitics and technology meet, we have to think in a systematic way. So the reason is not who can make the chips, but what chips are made from is important. That's when the critical minerals part becomes alive, because the chips today are made from silicon mostly and largely. But silicon electronics is not the way forward. We need to look at other rare earth and transition metals, which are abundant in geography of Central Asia. And so we need to, if we want to move away from the Chinese chips, we need to move away from what it's made from. Current, the geoeconomic setting of electronics is what it is. But are there new opportunities to build a new framework? And I argue that there are only two possibilities left. One is India, China a relationship which needs to find a equilibrium in some way, which it can be done through the help of Central Asia, but the of the India Central Asia relationships in terms of critical minerals. Can we replace silicon with another thing? I'm not going to go into technology here, but we have many different answers to this question. So it's not about Central Asia making new chips. It's more about making the components for any kind of future electronics or future cooling devices or future vehicles, which are partly value addedly, properly, and environmentally, sustainably mined and processed in Central Asia, and then turned into products in India, which is subject to global supply chains. And this is a fundamental point of how you reset the geopolitics through a tangible set of whether it's investment instruments, whether it's the technology instruments, and a very important point made earlier again about the skills development. But the co-develop, we as a world, as a globe, I'll be attending COP29 as a scientific advisory board member next week in Baku. And what is the thing that's not being talked about? We talk about green technology all the time, but green skills, the skills needed for technology for the future, anything from the mining practices to manufacturing to even management and financial and legal instruments are completely not present in the imaginary of how we develop any bilateral global relationships. And the thing that I would like to conclude here with is that we really need to from Indian side, go beyond the low-hanging fruit at the moment, meaning that we need to go beyond, okay, tourism is great, which is thriving, but it has developed the connectivity within the region. We have the flights and so on, which are increased, tenfold from when I used to first travel between India and Central Asia. That has been complemented and has been made possible through the governmental and legal instrumentation and how the ease of visas and thus access granted to Central Asia. However, India needs to reciprocate. So India has opened up in one way, but Central Asia has now jumped ahead in a unilateral way, allowed us access to Central Asia more easily. What are we doing to allow Central Asian businessmen who are plentiful, to come into the region, to not just a simple question of trading one place or between the two places. It's about co-developing companies, co-developing institutions, which are going to be hardwiring the region's imaginary as it was for tens of thousands of years before the European colonization divided the regions into where we are. So our imaginary remains divided through that colonization process, whether it was the European British one or the Russian one into Central Asia. But the world has moved to a place where we need to take the leap towards technological co-development of objects, of skills, and of institutions. And I'm going to end here. And I'm sad that I'm not there in person to carry on the conversation with you, but I look forward to actually meeting you all in future. So thank you for now, Namakan.
Thank you, Siddharth. If there are questions for Siddharth, go ahead. Otherwise, we go back to our normal schedule. Is there any questions addressed to Siddharth Saxena? So Siddharth, you can proceed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we will facilitate you when you visit MERI College.
Thank you.
Over to session number 2. Please continue as per the schedule. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Now I request Professor Dr. Rajesh Mehta, sir, to felicitate Mr. Alok Vijayan, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. As all of you have made out the three presentations from Thailand, from UK, and right now, most interesting by Mr. Bijan, and he has come out with the issues of cybersecurity and all the dynamics involved in the challenges for this region as a whole. So as of now, the students, you have uh, a lot of things to learn as a young demography, the country of India, which is now is a very young country, and all of you have to look forward to these opportunities and challenges in these two regions. So now I make the floor open to you. You can come up with your questions. Okay. So that is India's soft power, and also all of you have been some idea of how the concept of people-to-people contact on the basis of religion, culture, and ideas, like as it has been highlighted, yoga, India's classical music, uh, language like Sanskrit. Just to give you an instant, Bahasa Indonesia, the country having the largest Muslim population in the world, Pakistan is number 2. Indonesia is basically the Bahasa, the word is from Indian Sanskrit word Bhasa, Apabhransa, perverted form, from where 35% of the original language of Bhasa Indonesia is Sanskrit. All the, the impact, Hinduism and all that, right from Kalinga, Cholas, and then Pallavas, they have been massive, transfer of knowledge and all these manuscripts and everything. So Ramayana, Mahabharata is played in all these places of Southeast Asia. So there is a great cultural connect with Southeast Asia. Similarly, Central Asia, as have been highlighted, we have some past traditions, cultural impact from that side, and there have been so many critical items to it. So anyhow, you can just come up with your question. The floor is open to you. You please come one by one. I think we can take 3 to 4 questions, right? Okay. Who is coming? I have got the list here. Riddhi, you have get to the mic.
Good afternoon, sir. My question is that what are the steps required to further cultural ties with Southeast Asia in promoting Indian culture and tourism for India's benefits?
Yeah, so since I am the only panelist left here on the stage, so I think the question is for me. In fact, a very good question for the entire conference, because this is what we have assembled here to think about, that what are the steps or initiatives that we need to take to actually foster our bonding further, and maybe start from the historical connect to the future prospects. So the future prospects, what I see it as is we must synergize our strengths together in terms of the asymmetric operations that we can conduct for the rest of the globe. So that includes skilled manpower provisioning, software development, cryptology, setting up of data centers, becoming one of the I would say places for development of human use robotics, and injecting our own artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithm inside these robots to perform the job that we wanted to do, not as per the algorithm designed by the West. So our sets of problems are completely different, and we need to devise methods to solve our own sets of problems by injecting these kind of technologies, which do not need much of investments, but yet can give great results out in terms of trades and returns. Thank you.
Next question, I think we can take one more only, last one. Somebody had raised your hand? Sure? Okay, if you are not sure, I think it's, the session is over, and we'll have the next session. just wait around. Thank you for all the participants who have presented.
Thank you, sir. We would like to express our gratitude to young Sohani ma'am through the e-memento for your valuable contribution in today's conference. Also, I'd like to express our gratitude to Dr. Siddharth Shankar Saxena sir through the e-memento for your valuable contribution in today's conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now take a short break and we'll reconvene in 10 minutes.
Hello.